They thought it was just another ransom call for my towed car, but my work phone's callback trap was recording and tracing every number. When the HOA secretly conspired with the towing company to meet quotas, I quietly opened a compliance file like I would at work, except this time, my targets included my own family. He thought his shove would silence me. Instead, it flipped a switch, and when their phones rang back, the one answering wasn't me. It was evidence. My name is Ava Mercer, and I should have known something was wrong when the parking space sat empty like a missing tooth in the neat row of sedans. The dashboard clock read 7:47 p.m. when I pulled into Willow Trace, my headlights sweeping across the rain-slicked asphalt. 3 years of parking in space 42B, right between Mrs. Ellery's ancient Buick and the Peterson kids' dirt bikes. Tonight nothing but oil stains and a soggy piece of paper taped to the lamppost. Temporary no parking. Violators will be towed. My fingers went numb around my work phone. The sign's timestamp 5:15 p.m. After I'd left for work. After everyone had left for work. The hotline number glared up at me in bold red digits. I dialed, listening to my breath fog the car window while it rang. Once, twice. Apex Recovery and Storage. The voice sounded like gravel in a blender. You calling about a tow? Silver Honda Civic. License plate. Yeah, we got it. Overnight storage fees $275. Processing fees $150. After-hours retrievals another $100. Cash or card? My jaw locked. It's 8 o'clock. After hours starts at 5. You want your car or not? I activated the callback trap on my North Star-issued phone, a standard compliance tool we use to log vendor communications. Every return call would be time-stamped, location tagged, and recorded. Legal in North Carolina for business lines. I'll be there tomorrow, I said. Storage goes up $50 a day, just so you know. The line went dead. Mom's house squatted at the end of Maple Court, porch light flickering like always. Ron's truck dominated the driveway parked at that perfect angle that said, "This is my territory." I pulled in behind him, careful not to block him in. Last thing I needed tonight. The front door stuck, then gave way with a shriek. Ron sat in his recliner, beer can balanced on the armrest, scowling at a stack of papers. HOA meeting next week, he said without looking up. They want another assessment. Roof repairs. Mom emerged from the kitchen, dish towel twisted between her hands. Ava, honey, you're late. Car got towed. Ron's head snapped up. The hell from where? My spot at the complex. They put up a temporary sign after I left. How much? 500 plus. He crushed the beer can. Jesus Christ. Like we don't have enough bills. He shoved the papers at me. Need you to co-sign this. For the roof fund. I scanned the document, a $3,000 special assessment, but the contractor listed was Birchfield Unlimited Services, not a roofing company. I'm not signing this. You live under this roof when that apartment gets too expensive. I pay rent, to Mom. Ron stood, the recliner groaning. You pay half what you should. Now sign the damn paper. No. He moved fast for a big man. Not a punch. Ron was too smart for that. Just a shove. Hard enough to send me into the wall. My shoulder hit the doorframe. Pain shooting down my arm. Ron. Mom's voice. But distant. Always distant when it mattered. I straightened, keeping my face neutral. In compliance work, you learn to document everything. You learn that the first injury is rarely the last. You learn to build your case methodically. I'm going to my room, I said. You'll sign that paper. No, I won't. His face flushed purple, but I was already moving, already calculating. The callback trap would log everything. The bogus assessment would leave a paper trail. And somewhere between that tow truck and this living room, someone had made a mistake. They always did. In my childhood bedroom now, a makeshift office, I opened my laptop and began what I did best, building a compliance file. Subject: Suspicious towing practices. Subsidiary Investigation HOA Financial Irregularities. My shoulder throbbed as I typed, but my fingers moved steady across the keys. The first rule of compliance emotion is evidence, but evidence wins cases. The second rule, every crime leaves a pattern. At 11:47 p.m., my work phone buzzed. Unknown number. The callback trap engaged automatically, recording everything. Ms. Mercer, this is Apex Recovery. Just confirming we have your vehicle for tomorrow. Click. I smiled in the dark. They'd called back, which meant they were tracking something. Time to find out what. The HOA office smelled like old carpet and printer toner. Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. sharp. I stood at the reception desk with my formal records request typed on North Star letterhead. The clerk, barely out of high school, looked at it like I'd handed her a live snake. I need to review the meeting minutes from the last 6 months, I said. Also any contracts with towing companies and the temporary signage authorization logs. I need to ask. North Carolina Planned Community Act, Section 47F 1 and 18. HOA records are available to any member upon request. I'll wait. She scurried to the back office. I heard whispers, a door slam, more whispers. 20 minutes later, she returned with a banker's box. You have to review them here. No copies. That's fine. I pulled out my phone. I'll just take notes. The first red flag meeting minutes from January mentioned parking enforcement revenue targets. Revenue, not safety, not compliance, revenue. The second, a contract with Apex Recovery dated 3 months ago. The payment terms made my eyebrows climb. HOA received 40% of all towing fees. But buried in subsection 7.3.2 was the kicker: performance bonuses for achieving monthly vehicle recovery quotas. My phone camera clicked quietly. February's minutes got interesting. Board member R. Talbot proposes strategic placement of temporary signage to maximize enforcement opportunities. Motion carried 4-1. R. Talbot. Ron. I cross-referenced the towing logs with the signage authorizations. Pattern emerged like a photograph in developer fluid signs posted between 4 to 6 p.m. Cars towed between 5 to 7 a.m. 11 cycles over 4 weeks. Always the same zones: visitor spots, end units, anywhere working people parked when they rushed home after long days. My callback log showed 17 return calls from various numbers. All but 2 traced to Apex Recovery or HOA board members. The outliers interested me most. Back at my car, retrieved that morning for $527.50 in cash, I dialed the first outlier. Hello, female voice, cautious. Hi, this is Ava Mercer. You called my number last night. Oh, yes, She paused. Are you the one asking about the towing? I'm Sarah, from Unit 23. They got my boyfriend's truck last week. Someone gave me your number. Who? I don't. Someone left a note under my door. Said you were tracking the tows. I hadn't left any notes. Sarah, did you file a complaint? I tried. They said visitor vehicles can be towed at any time, but he's been parking there for 2 years. Send me your documentation, everything. The second outlier picked up on the first ring. Male, older, careful with his words. Ms. Mercer, I understand you're investigating our local towing situation. Who is this? Someone who's been watching these patterns longer than you. Check your mailbox tonight. Building 3, Unit 42B. The line went dead. My phone immediately buzzed. Nate, my half-brother. Texting. Found you a lawyer. Dana Whitlow. She eats HOAs for breakfast. Coffee tomorrow. That afternoon, I built a spreadsheet. Names, dates, times, fees. The numbers painted a picture: $47,000. In towing fees over 3 months. The HOA's 40% cut, $1,800 or $800. Enough to cover several emergency repairs that never seemed to materialize. But where did the money actually go? Back in my apartment mailbox that evening, a manila envelope, no postage. Inside, photocopies of bank statements, not HOA accounts, personal ones. Talbot Civic Services, LLC, regular deposits matching 25% of the HOA's towing revenue. Ron's company. The last page made me sit down hard on the lobby bench. An email chain between Marla Fitch, HOA president, and Ron, dated 6 weeks ago. Need to hit 20K this quarter or the pool repair questions start. Your zones or mine first. Yours, mine are getting suspicious. Had a close call with that Ellery woman. Set the quota at 8 per week. Tell Apex Tuesday nights are best. I thought about Mrs. Ellery's Buick, always perfectly parked. Thought about her arthritis, how she struggled with grocery bags. Thought about Ron's shove, my bruised shoulder. That night, I reconfigured the callback trap. New virtual number, automated response menu. You've reached the law offices of Whitlow and Associates. If you're calling about improper vehicle towing, press 1. If you're calling about HOA fraud, press 2. Then I did something I'd never done before in a compliance investigation. I made it personal. I printed business cards with the virtual number. After midnight, I slipped them under every door in Willow Trace. By morning, the callback system had logged 73 messages. The war was on. Dana Whitlow's office occupied the second floor of a converted Victorian, all exposed brick and salvaged wood floors. She didn't look like someone who ate HOAs for breakfast, more like someone who dissected them with surgical precision. Forged signature on a binding assessment, she held the document up to the light, comparing it to my employment forms. Amateur work, they traced your signature from something else. See the hesitation marks. I leaned closer, under magnification. The differences jumped out: pen pressure, angle, the way my A curved. At North Star, I'd authenticated hundreds of documents. This one screamed fake. When did they file this? 2 weeks ago, right after I refused to sign their roof repair assessment. Dana's fingers flew over her keyboard. Talbot Civic Services, registered LLC, formed 4 months ago, sole proprietor Ronald James Talbot. Fascinating timing. She printed screenshots. Your HOA hired Talbot Civic as a security consultant the week after they contracted Apex Recovery. Payment terms: $2,500 monthly retainer plus 25% of all enforcement-related revenue recovery. They're paying him to help steal from his own neighbors. Allegedly, Dana's smile held teeth. But this signature changes things. Fraud, forgery, elder abuse if any victims are over 65. Mrs. Ellery is 71, correct? This jumped from civil to criminal. My phone buzzed. The callback system alert: new voicemail, pressing option 2 for HOA fraud. Dana noticed. Your honeypot's working. 73 messages since midnight. This one's real time. I played it on speaker. A man's voice, nervous. I'm on the HOA board, minority member. They're meeting tonight, off the books, 8 p.m. Marla's house. They know someone's digging. Can you get invited to that meeting? Dana asked. My stepfather will be there. He won't want... I stopped. Actually, that might work. That evening, I knocked on Mom's door. Ron answered, already dressed for his book club, his standing lie for HOA schemes. I want to apologize, I said, keeping my eyes down. About the assessment. You're right. I should contribute more. His surprise lasted half a second. Yeah. I'll sign the papers. Tonight, if you want. I've got a meeting. I could come with you. Sign them there. Make it official. I pulled out the forged document. I found this in my mail. Looks like someone already tried to help me decide. His face went through several colors. Where did you... Doesn't matter. I'll sign the real one. Tonight, at your meeting. He couldn't say no without admitting the forgery. Couldn't bring me without risking exposure. I watched him calculate. Weigh odds. Fine, but you keep your mouth shut. Marla Fitch's house sprawled across a corner lot. All granite counters and plantation shutters. 5 cars in the driveway. Ron led me through a side door into a dining room that smelled like fear and expensive wine. What is she doing here? Marla's voice could have etched glass. She wants to sign the assessment. This is a closed session. I set my phone on the table, face down. The recording app ran silently. I'm here about the forgery. We can handle this internally, or I can file charges tomorrow. Dead silence. A man I recognized as the Apex manager cleared his throat. Maybe we should... Shut up, Derek. Marla turned to me. What do you want? The truth, on record. You're recording this. North Carolina is a one-party consent state. I smiled. I consent. Ron's hand clenched into a fist. You little... Touch me again and it's assault charges on top of fraud. I kept my voice steady. Your choice. Marla poured herself wine with shaking hands. It's a legitimate revenue enhancement program. It's a quota system. You're stealing from residents. Parking violations are manufactured. I have the emails. Marla. Your zones or mine. Ring a bell. Derek from Apex stood abruptly. I need to make a call. Sit down. I'd learned that voice at North Star, dealing with executives who thought compliance was optional. Nobody leaves until we're done. You can't. I pulled out the printed email chain. Tuesday nights are best. That's conspiracy. Add the forgery. The kickbacks to Talbot Civic, we're talking RICO territory. RICO. Ron's face went white. That's federal. Racketeering influenced corrupt organizations. When you run theft like a business, it becomes a federal case. I was bluffing RICO was a stretch, but they didn't know that. Marla's wineglass shattered on the granite. Red liquid spread like blood across her perfect counter. I want a deal, Derek said quickly. I have records, everything. Who got paid? How much? When? Derek. Marla's voice pitched high. I'm not going to federal prison over parking spaces. My phone buzzed. Dana. Texting 911 services en route. ETA 3 minutes. I hadn't called 911. Everybody stay calm, I said, but through the window, I glimpsed something beautiful, Mrs. Ellery's Buick leading a parade of cars, all bearing hazard lights, slowly circling the block. The neighbors had organized. When the police arrived, summoned by 17 different callers about a suspicious meeting involving known fraud, they found 7 adults, 1 shattered wine glass, and enough self-incriminating panic to fill a confession booth. And my phone, still recording every word. The callback honeypot evolved into something beautiful over the next 72 hours. Dana helped me register a legitimate virtual number under Community Legal Advocacy Services, vague enough to catch everything, official enough to scare the guilty. I programmed the automated menu with surgical precision. For parking and towing complaints, press 1. For HOA fraud concerns, press 2. For unauthorized fee assessments, press 3. To report evidence of quotas or kickbacks, press 4. Every option triggered the same response. Your call is important. This system will automatically log your number and may record subsequent communications for legal documentation. If this is an emergency, hang up and dial 911. Then came the hook, no voicemail. No human answer. Just dead air for 10 seconds before disconnecting. They always called back. My laptop screen glowed with incoming data. Call logs mapped themselves into patterns. Cluster analysis was second nature after years of compliance work. Derek from Apex hit option 4 6 times between 2 and 4 a.m., each callback from a different phone. But the real gold came at 3:47 a.m., Ron's cell number. Pressing option 2. The system logged his phone pinging off the tower near Willow Trace, then captured the follow-up call 4 minutes later. Ava. His voice, drunk and desperate. I know this is you. Pick up. Silence. We need to talk about your mother, about what this does to her. You think you're so smart with your computers and records? The callback trap logged everything. Location, duration, the slur in his words, evidence accumulating like snow in a blizzard. By morning, I had 47 unique callers, 183 total interactions. The pattern analysis revealed something unexpected. Calls clustered around shift changes. 6 a.m., 2 p.m., 10 p.m. Apex drivers were calling between tow runs. I texted Dana. They're tracking their crimes in real time. Her response, beautiful. Keep the line open. Wednesday afternoon. North Star's HR called. Ms. Mercer, we've received some concerning communications about your involvement in a local legal matter. My stomach clenched. From whom? An anonymous complaint suggesting conflict of interest. Using company resources for personal gain. I'm using approved tools to document potential fraud. The callback system is licensed for company business only. We'll need you to take administrative leave while we investigate. Paid, of course. Ron. He'd found my pressure point. I understand, I said calmly. I'll need my laptop and phone for the investigation. Those are company property. Check Section 7.3 of my employment contract. Personal legal matters involving potential criminal charges permit retention of assigned devices. I helped write that policy. Silence. Then, we'll review and get back to you. I backed up everything to 3 different drives before they could change their minds. That evening, the callback trap caught something extraordinary. Marla Fitch, trying to be clever, had someone else dial while she talked in the background. But modern phones pick up everything. Tell him we need 6 more by Friday or the whole quarter's shot. Her voice, distant but clear. No, not the main lot. Too many people watching now. Hit the overflow behind Building 7. Then, the crucial detail. Ron promised 8 units. He knows which one's the overnight workers who can't fight back. I transcribed every word, noting the timestamp 7:23 p.m. in 12 hours. They'd steal 6 more cars from people working night shifts, too exhausted to fight $500 fees. Not if I could help it. I created new business cards. Overflow lot alert. Towing scheduled tonight. Move your vehicle. Know your rights. Call callback number for legal resources. At 10 p.m. I walked the overflow lot, slipping cards under windshield wipers. Mostly older cars, the kind driven by people who couldn't afford surprise fees. A Honda with a Birchfield General Hospital parking sticker. A van with house cleaning supplies visible through the window. My phone rang. Unknown number. You're interfering with legal business operations. Male voice, trying to sound official. Towing legally parked cars isn't legal business. You can't prove. Timeline, I interrupted. Marla's call at 7:23 specifying 6 cars from overflow. Your call now, trying to stop me. When Apex shows up at 5 a.m. and finds empty spaces. That's conspiracy proven. Want to keep talking? He hung up. But the callback trap had already logged him. GPS showed the call originating from Apex Recovery's main office. At 11:47 p.m., my virtual line exploded. 17 calls in 3 minutes. All selecting option 4, reporting quotas and kickbacks. The overnight workers had found my cards. One voicemail broke through. Manually transferred by the system due to keywords. Ma'am, this is Letitia Reyes. I clean offices at night. They towed my van last month. I lost 2 days' work paying fees. Today I saw the truck circling, so I moved. But they're still here, writing down license plates. Building 7 like you warned. I called Dana. They're documenting cars for future targeting. Can you get photos? Already on my way. The callback trap kept recording. Every nervous call, every angry follow-up, every conspiratorial whisper thinking they'd reached a safe line. They all led back to the same truth: this wasn't just theft. It was organized crime. And I had them calling in their own confessions. One panicked dial at a time. The community center hummed with barely contained rage. Thursday's emergency HOA meeting had drawn 3 times the usual crowd, standing room only, with people lining the walls. The fluorescent lights buzzed like angry wasps, casting harsh shadows across worried faces. Marla Fitch sat at the board table, foundation caked thick to hide sleepless nights. Ron flanked her left, sweat beading despite the aggressive air conditioning. The other board members looked like prisoners awaiting sentencing. Before we begin, Marla's voice cracked, I want to address the vicious rumors. Sit down, Marla. Mrs. Ellery stood in the center aisle, walker steady, voice steadier. Behind her, A sea of faces I recognized from my midnight card drops. Letitia Reyes, Sarah from Unit 23. The night shift workers who'd moved their cars. "We're done listening to you," Mrs. Ellery continued. "Ms. Mercer, you have the floor." I walked to the front, laptop bag heavy with evidence. The projection screen behind the board flickered to life. Dana had arrived early to set up our presentation. "Good evening." My hands were steady as I connected the laptop. "I'm Ava Mercer, compliance specialist and Willow Trace resident. Over the past week, I've documented systematic fraud perpetrated by this board in partnership with Apex Recovery." The first slide, a map of Willow Trace, red dots marking every illegitimate tow. The pattern was damming clusters around buildings housing shift workers, elderly residents, single parents. "Objection." Ron stood. "This is a smear campaign." "You'll have your turn," I said, "if you're still here." Slide 2. The callback logs, phone numbers, timestamps, duration. Every red entry is a board member or Apex employee calling our legal advocacy line. Funny thing about panic, it makes people careless. I clicked play on an audio file. Marla's voice filled the room. "Tell him we need 6 more by Friday or the whole quarter's shot." Gasps rippled through the crowd. "That's illegally recorded," Marla shrieked. "One-party consent state," Dana said from the back. "And she wasn't even on the call your associate broadcast you while failing to hang up properly." Slide 3. The forged signature. Side-by-side comparison with my authentic signature. Differences highlighted in yellow. The board filed this fraudulent assessment under my name 2 weeks ago. I looked directly at Mom, sitting small in the 3rd row. They tried to make me complicit in their theft. "Ava," Ron's voice turned dangerous, "think about what you're—" Next slide. The room went silent. Financial records filled the screen. Talbot Civic Services bank statements. Payments traced from Apex through HOA accounts into Ron's LLC. Keys. $1,000. Stolen in towing fees, $18,800 diverted to HOA accounts. $11,700 paid to Talbot Civic Services for security consulting. I used air quotes. Also known as my stepfather's personal slush fund. A man in the back stood. "I paid a $300 tow fee last month. You're telling me $120 went to him. Plus another $75 to the HOA's enforcement fund." The crowd erupted. Voices layered over each other: anger, disbelief, demands for immediate action. Through it all, I watched Ron's face cycle through emotions: rage, calculation, fear. "Sergeant." Marisol Vega entered through the side door. 2 uniformed officers behind her. The crowd quieted. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced, "we're opening a formal investigation into fraud, conspiracy, and racketeering. We'll need statements from anyone who's been towed in the past 6 months." "This is ridiculous." Marla stood, chair screeching. "We have legal authority." "To steal." Mrs. Ellery's voice cut like a blade. "I was loading groceries when they towed my car, in my own assigned spot. The medication in those bags, it spoiled while I tried to find $400 in cash." Letitia Reyes stood. "I missed my daughter's school play because of your quota." One by one, they stood. Sarah's boyfriend, the night nurse from Building 4, the delivery driver who'd been hit 3 times, each story adding weight to the evidence I'd compiled. "We need to adjourn," Ron said loudly. "Executive session." "Motion to remove all current board members." Mrs. Ellery didn't miss a beat. "Effective immediately." Seconded voices chorused from every corner. "You can't," Marla started. "Read your own bylaws." Dana stepped forward. Section 12.3. Upon credible evidence of malfeasance, residents may call for immediate board dismissal by majority vote. All in favor. Mrs. Ellery raised her hand. A forest of hands shot up. I didn't need to count, it was everyone except the 5 board members. "Motion carries," Dana smiled. "Congratulations, you're all fired." Marla grabbed her purse, stumbling toward the exit, but Sergeant, Vega stepped into her path. "Ma'am, we'll need you to remain for questioning." The fluorescent lights flickered as if applauding. In my pocket, my phone buzzed the callback trap, logging 6 more panicked calls from Apex numbers. "One more thing," I announced as officers began taking statements. "Everyone who was illegally towed will receive full refunds, plus damages. My attorney will coordinate the class action." Ron's face had gone purple. "You vindictive little—" "Choose your next words carefully." "Sergeant," Vega interrupted, "they're going into my report." He shut his mouth, but his eyes promised retribution. I pulled up the final slide, a photo of the overflow lot from last night, empty spaces where 6 cars should have been stolen. "They failed to meet this week's quota," I said. "Because you stood up, because you refused to be victims." The applause started slowly, building like thunder. Through it all, I kept my eyes on Ron, watching him realize his kingdom of petty theft was collapsing. The best part, he'd helped build the evidence against himself, one panicked callback at a time. The bank records arrived under subpoena at 9 a.m. Friday. Dana spread them across her conference table like tarot cards, revealing a fortune of fraud. "Follow the money," she murmured, highlighting transfers with surgical precision. "Apex to HOA, HOA to Talbot Civic, Talbot Civic to—" She paused, finger hovering over an entry. "What?" I leaned closer. "Joint account, Ronald and Lorna Talbot?" "My mother." My stomach turned to lead. The pattern was methodical $2,000 monthly transfers, labeled household maintenance. The dates aligned perfectly with Ron's kickback payments, usually hitting the joint account within 48 hours. "She might not know," Dana said gently. I pulled up the signature cards. Mom's handwriting on the account opening forms, dated 4 months ago, right when the towing scheme started. But something felt wrong about her signature. Too steady, too careful. "I need the original documents." Dana made a call. Within an hour, a courier delivered copies from the bank's legal department. Under magnification, the truth emerged. Mom's signatures showed signs of tracing, just like mine on the forged assessment. But these were better practiced, patient. "He forged her signatures too." Dana whistled low. "That's identity theft, wire fraud, spousal financial abuse." She knew. I pointed to a second set of documents, withdrawal slips. Definitely Mom's handwriting. Small amounts, $200 here, $300 there, but always within days of the deposits. Cash only. "She was taking money out as soon as it hit," I said. "Why?" My phone rang. Northstar's CEO, Patricia Huang. "Ava, I apologize for the confusion about your leave. We've reviewed the situation. Your use of company tools for documenting potential crimes falls within policy. You're cleared to return Monday." "Thank you, but also we'd like to discuss expanding your role. Seems you have a talent for forensic compliance work." I hung up feeling hollow. Professional vindication couldn't fill the hole where family should be. Dana's paralegal knocked. "The audio analysis is ready." We moved to the tech room where their consultant had isolated and enhanced every callback recording. Up on the screen, waveforms labeled by caller. "This is interesting." He pulled up a series of Ron's calls. Same phone. But look at the background acoustics. This one's from a small room, probably home office. But these 3 large space, echo patterns consistent with a warehouse. Apex's facility. Bingo. And here, he enhanced the background noise. That's a truck engine, specifically, a diesel lifter. He was there during active tows. More evidence. Ron hadn't just orchestrated the scheme, he'd participated, probably directing which cars to take. The consultant scrolled to another set of calls. "This one's odd. Female caller. Never speaks. But there's whispered conversation in the background." He isolated and amplified. Mom's voice, faint but clear. "Told you not to call from the house." Then Ron, "Shut up. They can't trace it if—" The recording cut off. "When was this?" My voice sounded distant. "Tuesday, 11:15 p.m. After I'd confronted them about the forgery, they'd known I was building a case, tried to test my system together. Dana's phone buzzed. Judge signed the freeze order. HOA can't collect any fees or authorize any tows pending investigation, and she smiled. Apex's business license is suspended. Every truck is grounded. Small victory, but I barely felt it. The financial web kept expanding shell companies, false invoices, tax evasion adding to the fraud charges. Every thread led back to Ron, but Mom's fingerprints were everywhere too. I opened my laptop, pulled up the compliance framework I'd built. One section remained unexplored: comparative analysis. If Ron had run this scam before, public records search. Talbot Civic Services was his fourth LLC in 10 years. Each previous company dissolved shortly after incorporating, but not before receiving payments from various HOAs across North Carolina. Dana. My throat felt tight. He's done this before. Other neighborhoods. Other cities. She looked at my screen, calculating. Statute of limitations on fraud is 3 years. If we can prove a pattern, RICO becomes real, not just threats. My phone vibrated. Text from an unknown number. Your mother wants to talk, alone, tonight. She'll explain everything. I showed Dana. Could be a trap. Could be. I saved the number to my callback system. But she's still my mother. That afternoon, I mapped every financial transaction, creating what prosecutors would later call the most comprehensive fraud documentation in North Carolina HOA history. Boxes of evidence, gigabytes of recordings, enough paper trail to convict a small army. But sitting in that conference room, surrounded by proof of my family's crimes, I felt no satisfaction, just the cold weight of numbers adding up to betrayal. $11,700 stolen, 46 families affected, 2 parents who'd chosen greed over their daughter, 1 compliance specialist who'd followed the money straight to her own mother's guilt. The numbers never lied. That's what made them so cruel. The burner phone rang at 11:43 p.m., its harsh digital tone cutting through my apartment's silence. I'd been waiting. Callback trap primed. Fingers poised over the record button. But when I answered, the voice wasn't Ron's. Tomorrow morning, North Side Lot, 6 a.m. sharp, bring nobody. Derek from Apex, trying to sound threatening. Not interested, I said. You'll want to hear this. It's about the next run. There is no next run. You're shut down. That's what you think. His laugh was nervous, brittle. Check your trap in 5 minutes. He hung up. I watched the callback system, counting seconds. At exactly 5 minutes, it triggered incoming call from Ron's cell. But the recording captured something unexpected. Final load before they freeze the assets. Ron's voice, but distant. He wasn't talking to the phone, didn't know it had connected. Tell Martinez we need every truck running by 4 a.m. Hit the complexes in Riverside and Meadowbrook. Different jurisdiction, bought us 12 hours. Another voice, unclear. What about your stepdaughter? Let me worry about her. Just get those trucks loaded. 50 cars by sunrise. That's nearly 60 grand. Enough to disappear for a while. The call lasted 17 seconds before someone noticed and disconnected. But 17 seconds was enough. I called Dana, then Sergeant Vega. By 12:30 a.m., the callback trap had logged 6 more calls, drivers confirming locations. Marla panicking about frozen accounts. Someone trying to rent storage units with cash. They were going scorched earth. One final massive theft before the walls closed in. Dana conferenced in the district attorney. We need units at every complex they mentioned. This is interstate flight risk now. I can get state police involved, the DA said. But we need real-time intelligence. Ms. Mercer, can your system track active calls? Better. I can make them think it's still safe to call. I reconfigured the honeypot's message. Legal advocacy services temporarily offline for maintenance. Your call cannot be recorded at this time. Please try again later. Psychology 101. Tell people they're not being recorded. They'll spill everything. 1:47 a.m. It's Derek. Trucks are staged. Waiting for green light. 2:15 a.m. Martinez here. Riverside's clear. Starting the run. 2:42 a.m. Got eyes on Meadowbrook. Security's doing rounds, hitting it at 3:15. Each call pinged cell towers, painting a real-time map of their operation. Dana forwarded everything to law enforcement while I monitored the trap. 3:33 a.m. brought the crucial call, Ron himself, drunk or desperate enough to dial direct. Ava, I know you're listening, always watching, recording, judging, just like your sanctimonious father. My biological father had died when I was 12. Ron never mentioned him. Thought you were so clever with your computers and compliance bullshit, but you missed the real play, your mother. She knew everything, helped plan it. Those signatures you thought I forged. She practiced them herself. My hands shook, but the recording stayed clean. Want to know why medical bills, the insurance your precious North Star provides, doesn't cover experimental treatments? Lung cancer, stage 3, diagnosed 5 months ago. The room tilted. Mom, cancer, 5 months right when the scheme started. $60,000 for the trial program. Insurance laughed, so we got creative. Every towed car that was someone's chemotherapy fund, every kickback another month of hope. His voice cracked. But you had to play hero, had to prove you're better than us poor, desperate people who just wanted to live. The line went dead. I sat frozen while the callback trap logged more calls, drivers reporting successful tows, locations of loaded trucks, estimated haul values. The evidence mounted, but all I could hear was, lung cancer, stage 3. My phone rang. Sergeant Vega. We've intercepted 4 trucks, recovered 31 vehicles. Drivers are talking full confession about the quota system. But Ava, we can't find Ron or your mother. Their house is empty. Check Birchfield General, Oncology Ward. Silence. Then how did you... Just check. I opened my laptop, pulled up public health databases. There it was. Clinical trial, NCT 4521, experimental immunotherapy for late-stage lung cancer. Cost $60,000. Minimum. The callback trap buzzed. Unknown number, but the voice was unmistakable. Ava. Mom. Barely a whisper. I'm sorry. Where are you? Hospital. They're arresting Ron in the parking lot. I wanted to tell you, but you'd have tried to help. Taken loans. Destroyed your future. This way. Only we suffer. Mom. The money's hidden. Unit 74 at store safe. Key in my jewelry box. Not for me, treatment failed last week. For the others, the ones we stole from, pay them back. Every penny. The callback system captured her next words perfectly, even through her tears. I called you, not the lawyers or police. I called you, because I knew you'd answer. You always answer. The line clicked off. The trap logged the disconnect Birchfield General, main tower. 4:47 a.m. Sunrise in 90 minutes. Across the city, tow trucks sat abandoned, their stolen cargo recovered, in a storage unit. $60,000 waited to be returned to victims, in the oncology ward. My mother faced her choices while Ron faced handcuffs. And in my apartment, the callback trap sat silent for the first time in days. Its purpose finally, completely served. Everyone involved had called back, even her. Especially her. Dawn broke gray and drizzling over Birchfield County Courthouse. The overflow parking lot, ironic venue filled with news vans and residents clutching documentation of their stolen cars. I stood in the rain, watching justice arrive in handcuffs. They brought Ron first, orange jumpsuit already dark with rain. Behind him, Derek from Apex. Then 2 drivers I recognized from the callback logs. Marla Fitch came last. Designer heels slipping on wet asphalt, makeup running in parallel streams. Inside courtroom 3. Judge Harrison presided over the emergency injunction hearing. The gallery packed tight, Mrs. Ellery in the front row, Letitia Reyes behind her, dozens of others I'd slipped warnings to that night. Dana stood. Your Honor, we present evidence of systematic fraud perpetrated through an illegal quota system. The prosecutor clicked through slides, my spreadsheets, callback logs, financial traces. But the moment that broke the case came from an unexpected source. I'd like to submit additional evidence. Mom stood in the back row, thin as paper, supported by a walker I'd never seen before. The bailiff helped her forward. "Lorna Talbot," the judge acknowledged. "You're named as a co-conspirator." "I am." She pulled out a manila folder. "These are Ron's previous operations. 7 HOAs over 10 years. Same pattern. I kept records." She looked at me then, and I saw the woman who taught me to document everything, to always keep receipts. The lesson had just taken a terrible turn. He chose neighborhoods with working families, people too busy to fight, too poor to lawyer up. Her voice gained strength. Until Ava. The judge reviewed her documents, a decade of fraud mapped in my mother's careful handwriting. "Ms. Mercer," Judge Harrison turned to me. "The court recognizes your extraordinary efforts in exposing this conspiracy. The callback evidence is particularly compelling." He lifted the gavel. I held my breath. "Injunction granted. All HOA board members are permanently removed. Apex Recovery's licenses revoked. Assets frozen pending full restitution to victims." The gavel fell like thunder. "Criminal trials to commence next month. Defendants will remain in custody given flight risk." The courtroom erupted. Cheers. Tears. Mrs. Ellery pumping her fist despite her arthritis. Through it all, I watched them lead Ron away. He didn't look back. Outside, rain still falling, Dana found me on the courthouse steps. The storage unit had $62,000, all recovered. Every victim will be made whole, plus damages. "Good," I said, meaning it. "Your mother's cooperating fully with her testimony. Ron's looking at 20 years minimum. And her house arrest until trial. Mitigating circumstances, the medical situation. Her cooperation. She'll likely get probation." I nodded, processing. The cancer gave context but not absolution. Choices had been made. My phone buzzed. Patricia Huang from North Star. "Saw the news. Incredible work. Let's discuss that forensic compliance position, Monday, director level." Small comfort, but I'd take it. "Sorry," Vega appeared at my elbow. "Thought you should know we ran the callback data through state databases. Your system helped identify 3 other active schemes across North Carolina. You've started something." The rain was letting up, sun breaking through clouds. In the parking lot, neighbors exchanged stories and phone numbers, organizing. Trauma had become community. "Ms. Mercer," Letitia Reyes approached, still in her cleaning uniform from a night shift. "Thank you. When they towed my van, I thought I'd lose everything, but you answered when I called." That's when it hit me. The callback trap's real power, not the technology or recordings, but the simple act of creating a number people could dial when systems failed them. Every crime does leave a pattern, but sometimes the pattern is silence. Breaking that silence, giving victims a voice, letting them know someone would answer that had made the difference. Mom waited by a police car, guard at her side. She caught my eye, mouthed 3 words, "I'm proud of you." I turned away. Some calls you answer. Others, you let go to voicemail. The courthouse steps emptied slowly. Neighbors returning to Willow Trace, where new board elections would begin next week, where cars could park safely, where the phone wouldn't ring at midnight with another emergency fee. I walked to my car, never towed, perfectly legally parked, and sat for a moment in the quiet. My phone showed 17 missed calls, all from newspapers wanting the story. They could wait. For the first time in weeks, I turned off the callback trap. The only sound was rain on the windshield, washing everything clean. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd love to hear where you're tuning in from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. Share our thoughts about Ava's journey. If this tale of justice through technology resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. And hey, if you really want to help more people discover stories like this, hit that hype button. It makes a huge difference in getting these stories heard. Until next time, keep standing up for what's right.